I am so excited to introduce our very first speaker. We do something a little bit different at Fuckup Nights. So we're not going to read out bios of these speakers. You can Google that. We like to read out 3 fun facts, and I have 3 fun facts about each speaker. So Steve is our first speaker, and he is deathly afraid of hamsters. He likes to go cave diving, even though he's claustrophobic. And he's a distant descendant of an empress. Come on up here, Steve, and share your fuck up.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Steve, and a little bit about me. I'm an avid hiker, canoeer, and photographer. I often like to go on hiking adventures with my friends and sometimes put their life in a little bit of danger because I like trails that are a little bit more rugged and hardcore. Interesting enough, I actually did not want to get into business initially. Originally, I wanted to go into theater, but my family said, you don't really have the face for theater, but maybe you can do voice acting. Anyway, so I ended up going into business instead. I studied marketing at U of T, and I met a lot of great people there, and some people who would eventually become my future business partners. And I learned a lot of skills that I was able to put to good use into promoting my future businesses. And one of the business is called Battle Sports. So Battle Sports, I co-founded with 5 other equal business partners. And every time I tell people 5 people, 6 of us, yes, that was a lot of people. And yes, there was drama. But I'll get back to that. Battle Sports, we ran a 9,000 square feet facility that had 4 services, 4 fun activities for kids and adults. We did archery lessons, archery dodgeball, Nerf games for kids and adults, and the one that we were most well known for was called the Rage Room. So in the Rage Room, you get to smash plates, cups, and printers for fun. And you use a crowbar and a bat, and you destroy stuff. We either provide you things, or you can bring your own stuff. And let me tell you, divorcees, they bring in the most interesting and biggest stuff to smash. I remember one time, this divorcee, she brought in this huge 5-foot-tall wooden painted portrait, thick wood of her and her ex-husband painted on there, and she demolished it. Even though I had to clean it up, I was like ecstatic. And we also provide videos of you in your smashing sessions. So it was a great memory for her and for me. This was going to be one of my core memories I will remember for the rest of my life. Now, the Rage Room was hugely successful. It launched us into the public eye, and we got a lot of media attention. So we had the Toronto Star, Vice, CBC, The Guardian, and Breakfast Television, a few other media channels that were covering us in our first year. And I felt famous and proud to be able to go up there and do the interviews and be able to talk about battle sports. And all that media attention led us to getting invited on Dragon's Den. And from there, Dragon's Den, we were there to pitch in season 11, and we did pretty well. We had a very smooth pitch, and when they invited us, we already had the business running, we already had sales, so it was very easy talking to them. I felt like nervous, but when we started to talk about the business, about what we've done, about all the media attention, it made things a lot easier. And then from there, after getting attention from Dragon's Den, we shook hands on TV, but eventually we didn't get the deal to go through. But the publicity was perfect. It skyrocketed our sales. And we were profitable in our first year, and we had an expansion being built by our second. And from Dragon's Den, we were able to get the attention of Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers was promoting their first suicide squad. So they actually wanted us to help them promote it too. So they built a huge jail cell in the distillery district where people got to dress up as Harley and smash stuff for fun. And I got to meet some of the movie stars there. I got to meet Will Smith and Margot Robbie, and it was an amazing experience. So now, you're probably wondering, with a business that had profitability in its first year, had an expansion being built by its second, what could stop us aside from us? Yes, so because we had 5 equal business partners, it was really tough to get us all to align. Each of us individually, we were all great people, great, driven, and passionate. But the thing is, it was very tricky to get us all aligned. Even in the beginning, the meetings that we had, every meeting, we always had a huge argument. And as the success grew, so did the tensions. And it started to mount up year after year, and eventually it hit a boiling point. When we were deciding on how to expand and who does what, that was when our relationship broke down. It completely broke down. And that was when the lawsuits started. So we started to sue each other. And I learned a lot about litigation. And I learned a lot about all the different terminology of countersuing, affidavits, court files, legal letters. They all fit nicely into these wonderful brown envelopes that lawyers love to use. And they're always a very specific size and color. So every time I saw this letter being mailed to me, I would have a panic attack. Every time I open it up and read it, my eyes would be burning as I read through it. And I'm not tearing up or anything, but just a weird burning sensation of whole bundles of emotion, of betrayal, anger, and shame and sadness. But these envelopes, I still have slight PTSD when I see them. It's even worse when I go to Staples, because they have a whole bunch of them in a section. So eventually, after 1 year of litigation, of all these legal letters, this lawyer process, I knew there was no turning back. This situation was completely fucked. And there was no way of us repairing our relationship. And even then, it took us several years to eventually settle. But once we settled, the business was never the same again. Our stress and our distraction of this legal case made it very hard to actually manage the business optimally. And we weren't able to properly manage our staff, which was another big fuck up. So we called our staff like a huge family. We thought calling them this family and creating this family work culture would be a good idea. But we found out otherwise. One day, one of our employees invited us to a secret employee group chat that we weren't supposed to see. That employee was getting fed up of everybody complaining and not telling us exactly how they felt. So they added us in there, and we weren't supposed to see that. And there was a lot of negative feedback about us. And when I was reading that chat, I felt another bundle of emotions of betrayal, anger, sadness, and shame. Shame that we couldn't properly take care of our employees, and some of the things that they talked about, some of our mistakes, I knew well that this was on us, that they were hurting and angry at us because of what we put them through. So eventually, after all that, we started operations in 2015, but we eventually closed in 2020 because of COVID. Because we were an indoor entertainment business, we couldn't operate anymore. And when we closed in 2020, it was actually a silver lining, because when we closed down, we were able to eventually fully move on from there. And the biggest things that I learned from battle sports was, one of the lessons is don't rush. It's because we all rushed into this working relationship that we didn't get to properly know each other, and that's what tore ourselves apart. So if you are anyone getting into a new business with someone, I suggest starting off with a small project first before jumping into a whole business with them. Another thing is, don't call your work culture a family. It was because we had this whole family mentality that we didn't properly set up a proper professional code of conduct, that we didn't set up proper boundaries. In a way, we treated it like a family in which the family members were supposed to work super hard, work beyond what they are capable of, and that really pushed them to their limits. So the biggest lesson of all was your work, your staff, they're a team of professionals, not your family. Another thing was, third lesson was to cherish your actual family and friends. It was they who helped put me back together when I closed down the business. Spending quality time with them really helped with my mental health. And even just spending time with my niece and reading her kids' books really taught me to slow down and enjoy the moment. And the last lesson, and most important of all, you are not your business. You are not your job. You are much more than that. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, but it took me 2 years to really learn that lesson. And from there, I was lucky enough to have the support of my family and my friends and be able to recover from that. And it took me 2 years to finally learn from all this, and even up until now to be the first time to talk about it. And the biggest thing is, you and everyone here, all of you, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that you are the sum of many things that make you unique and wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Steve, thank you so much for sharing your story. Such a great storyteller. That was such
Thank
a
you.
journey. And I think, that your last lesson is so relatable. I think so many of us, we really tie our identities to our business or the company that we work for. And when something goes wrong, you really do tend to kind of internalize that failure. So a really great lesson that you pointed out is that you are not your fuck up. You tried something, it didn't work out, but it's all about how you move on from it. So thank you again for sharing, and we're going to open it up to some Q&A.